video, then congratulations, you have terrible taste in football projection videos. If you watched me last year, then welcome back. If you haven't, I'm Big K Cunningham. I'm a Texas A&M fan, class of 2011 here. As you can see behind me, this is my fantastic dorm room. This is where I'm going to be making projections on A&M games, and once the Big 12 season rolls around, I'm going to start making in-conference projections. I decided this year, I didn't do a preseason video before I actually got started in the Arkansas game, which I predicted we'd win. Great job on my part. Anyway, I'm going to go through each team in the Big 12 South in this video. It's going to be quick and dirty. I'm not going to get in depth. Thank God for all of you. I'm just going to go with what my gut says. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed off. I just figured I'd get that out of the way now. We'll start with Baylor. Baylor went 4-8 last year. Robert Griffin went down in the second game of the year against Northwestern State. I guarantee you a Baylor fan will come in here and check me on that. They start the season with Sam Houston State, Buffalo, TCU, and Rice. Wow, that should be fun. They're going to crush Sam Houston State. I'll call that one now. Buffalo, same thing. TCU, they get beaten, although I think it'll be reasonably competitive through the first half. I think TCU pulls away after that. They beat Rice. Then the next three games are conference: Kansas, Texas Tech, and Colorado. I have them beating Kansas and Colorado. I have them losing to Tech, although my gut says that'll be a much closer game than everyone thinks it'll be. Just because Baylor has been punch for punch with them the last 2 years. They're going to bring Robert Griffin back. Hopefully they have more individual talent on both sides of the ball. I give them a chance, but I have Tech winning it. Then they have Kansas State, Texas, and Okie State in their big three, or their next three. I have them losing to Kansas State. It's just like Texas Tech. It was a coin flip, really. I feel that Kansas State plays a little bit more physical football, a little bit more smash mouth, and I'm not sure if Baylor can keep up with it. Although, you could flip it around and say, I'm not sure Kansas State can keep up with Baylor's speed. Once again, it was just a gut call there. I have them losing to Texas just because, well, it's Texas. They don't rebuild, they reload. I got them beating Oklahoma State. And then the final two games, Texas and Oklahoma, I have as losses. I have them finishing the year 6-6 with a 3-5 record in the Big 12 South. I think I just said that I have them finishing 5th in the Big 12 South. If I didn't, then now you know. Texas Tech. Their non-conference games are SMU, New Mexico. Then they play Texas, Iowa State. Then they actually play their conference schedule, and they finish with Weber and Houston. I have them going 3-1 non-conference, but I don't have them losing to Houston. I actually have them beating Houston. I have them losing to SMU. Now, this will probably be the pick that gets me the most heat. That and a certain team not finishing number one, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I have Texas Tech losing to SMU, more on gut feeling than anything. I had them originally winning, but my gut is much bigger than my brain, if you can't tell by just the headshot of me. And I felt that SMU would beat Texas Tech. We're into the Tuberville era. I have no clue what Texas Tech is going to look like. They could go 12-0 and win a national title. Not really, but it's a possibility. They could go 4-8. I mean, we don't know what this team is going to look like. It's all hypothetical. But I have them beating New Mexico. I have them closing the year with 2 wins with Weber and Houston. Then in conference, I have them losing to Texas, then winning 4 in a row with Iowa State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and Colorado, then losing 3 straight to A&M, Missouri. Missouri's a coin toss for me, and Oklahoma. I have them finishing 7-5 with a 4-4 record in the Big 12 Conference. Might as well get this one over with really quickly. Oklahoma, I have them beating Utah State, beating Florida State, beating Air Force, beating Cincy, beating Texas, beating Iowa State. I hope you're noticing a trend. I have them going 12-0. I have them winning the Big 12 South. I actually have them winning the Big 12. And I was doing this about the time Phil Steele said it, so I'm not just a complete bandwagon hopper on that. But I think Oklahoma's a very physical team. If DeMarco Murray stays healthy, I actually have him in the Heisman race. I think that Oklahoma has a lot of talent. I like Bob Stoops. I think this team has a shot to win the national title. Then you have their friends in Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. Non-conference, Washington State, Troy, Tulsa, Louisiana. And I thought our non-conference was weak. They're going to crush Washington State. I have them competing with Troy, but I have Oklahoma State winning. Tulsa, they win. Louisiana, they win. Then in conference, it kind of goes to hell. They lose to A&M, lose to Tech, lose to Nebraska, lose to Baylor, lose to Texas, lose to Oklahoma, but I have them beating Kansas and Kansas State. Don't know why I have them beating Kansas State, because I guess it's because of the running back situation at Oklahoma State. But I have them finishing 6-6, 2-6 in the conference. And now the fun begins. Texas and Texas A&M. I'll just go through each schedule. A&M beats SFA, beats La Tech, beats FIU, beats Okie State, then loses to Arkansas, then wins 3 in a row with Mizzou, Kansas, and Tech, then loses to OU, then beats Baylor, then loses to Nebraska, which sets them up in the finale with Texas. Texas started with 4 wins as well, beating Rice, Wyoming, Tech, and UCLA. Of course, this is all hypothetical. They could lose to Tech, they could lose to Rice, they're not going to, but they could. Then I have them losing 2 straight to OU and Nebraska. Then I have them winning 5 straight over ISU, Baylor, K-State, Okie State, and Florida Atlantic. You're prepping for A&M with Florida Atlantic? I'm slightly offended. Anyway, that puts us to the final game. A&M, Texas. Now, no, never mind. They finished second in the Big 12 South. Whoever wins this game finishes second in the Big 12 South. And this is where a lot of people get pissed off at me. I call this the Colt McCoy theory. Colt McCoy had to replace a great Texas quarterback in Vince Young. As much as I don't like him, I have to admit, did a fantastic job. And he lost 2 straight to Texas A&M. They're replacing him with Garrett Gilbert. And you can't tell me that we know how good Garrett Gilbert's going to be. We don't. He threw a couple touchdowns, but he threw them to Jordan Shipley. Shipley's gone. Alabama turned it up, made Gilbert look silly again. I mean, we don't know anything about Garrett Gilbert. At the end of the year, he could be a front runner for a Heisman. He could have thrown 20 picks and been replaced with God knows who's second. But we don't know anything about Garrett Gilbert. A&M, there's enough offensive talent to, I think, win every game they play. But the defense is so questionable that they could lose 6. I actually have A&M beating Texas. It's slightly homerish of me, but I think it's a very evenly matched game. I don't like the fact that Texas is trying to go more pro style with Fozzie Whitaker and Trey Newton. I don't really trust that too much. But who knows? By the end of the year, Texas could be 11-0 and A&M could be, I don't know, 6-5. But this last game, A&M and Texas, will be very interesting, in my opinion. I've got A&M winning it. I think A&M's got too much offensive talent in the right positions, although Texas does have a great defense coming in. I will admit that. So yeah, A&M wins that, finishes second in the Big 12 South. Let's go through a quick and dirty run through of it. Number 1, Oklahoma, 12-0, 8-0 in conference, goes to a national title game. They beat Nebraska. Number 2, Texas A&M, 9-3 with a 5-3 record in conference. 3, Texas, same thing, 9-3, 5-3, but they lost the A&M tiebreaker. 4, Texas Tech, 7-5 with a 4-4 record in conference. 5 is Baylor with a 6-6 record and a 3-5 record in conference. And then Okie State brings up the rear at 6-6 with a 2-6 record in conference. But the good thing is, all 6 teams in the Big 12 South would qualify for a bowl hypothetically here. And I know that that's kind of rainbow and popcorn fart dreaming, but I think that all 6 of these teams are good enough to make a bowl. And the fact that A&M and Texas Tech all have great records, but are just barely above or at 500 in conference, isn't a sign that the teams are bad. It's a sign that this conference is actually pretty good. They have severe weaknesses on each team. Texas has to replace Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley. A&M has no defense. And Tech has to replace probably the best head coach it's ever had. But the teams are all good. They all hypothetically could have a shot to win the Big 12. I think Oklahoma is the best. Maybe not head and shoulders, but probably half a head above the rest of them. But I really think that those 4 teams can make it interesting. Anyway, I'll go through the Big 12 North probably in a couple days. And that's really it. If you have any questions, comments, want to just bash me for no reason, post a video response or leave a comment. Bye.